I was folding laundry when the message arrived. Not a call, not a knock on the door. A message. It came through on my phone with a soft vibration that almost felt polite. "Mom, you need to move out by the end of the month. We are renovating. This house belongs to my family now." I read it once, then again. Then I sat down on the edge of the bed because suddenly the room felt too large and too quiet. My name is Evelyn Harper. I am 68 years old, and I have lived in this house for 39 years. I know the sound every floorboard makes. I know which window sticks when it rains. I know the exact spot on the kitchen wall where my daughter drew a crooked heart in purple crayon when she was 5. And my daughter had just told me I did not belong here anymore. I did not answer her message right away. I held the phone in my hand and stared at the words as if they might change if I looked long enough. Move out. End of the month. Our house now. The dryer beeped in the other room. A load of warm clothes sat waiting to be folded. Life was still moving even though something inside me had just cracked open. I walked into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. My hands were shaking so badly that I spilled some on the counter. I did not wipe it up right away. I just watched it drip toward the edge. I kept thinking there must be a mistake. Maybe she meant something else. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe she had sent it to the wrong person. So I typed back one simple question. "What do you mean?" The dots appeared almost immediately, then stopped, then appeared again. "You know what I mean, Mom. We are married now. We need space. We are putting money into this house. You have to find somewhere else." I leaned against the counter to keep from falling. My daughter, the girl whose hair I braided every morning before school, the teenager who used to cry in this same kitchen when her heart got broken, the woman who once promised she would always take care of me. She was telling me to leave. I walked into the living room and looked around like I was seeing it for the first time. The old armchair by the window where I used to read to her, the bookshelf her father built before he died, the photo on the wall of us standing in front of this very house on the day we moved in. I could almost hear her voice from years ago. "Mom, this will always be our home." I sat down slowly. When you are a parent, you expect many kinds of pain. You expect worry. You expect disappointment. You even expect anger. But you never expect to be erased. I had not argued with her. I had done nothing wrong. I simply grown older, and that somehow had made me disposable. My phone buzzed again. Her husband this time. "We are serious, Evelyn. We are already planning. Please do not make this harder than it has to be." He did not even call me Mom. I felt something change inside me in that moment. Not anger, not sadness, something colder. I stood up and walked into my bedroom. I opened a closet and looked at my clothes, my shoes, my life hanging on a rack. They were already treating me like a temporary guest, like I had never belonged here at all. I sat on the bed and pressed my hand against my chest. 39 years, every holiday, every scraped knee, every late night. And this was how it ended, with a text message. I did not cry. I did not beg. I simply whispered something to myself. Not yet. Because there was something they didn't know. Something buried deep in paperwork and memory. Something that would change everything. And I was about to remember it. When you have lived somewhere for almost 40 decades, every corner of the house holds a memory. I walked slowly through the hallway, touching the wall as I went, feeling the grooves where picture frames had once hung, where children's hands had brushed past in a hurry. This was not just a house. This was the story of my entire adult life. I moved here when I was 29, pregnant, terrified, and still married to a man who promised me forever, but could only manage 5 years. Daniel was my husband back then, charming, handsome, very good at making plans he never intended to keep. We bought this place together with money from his parents, a modest 2-bedroom with a wide porch and a maple tree in the front yard. "This is for our family," he said. But families change. Daniel left when our daughter, Lauren, was 4. One morning I woke up and his side of the bed was empty. His closet was half bare. A note sat on the kitchen table next to a cold cup of coffee. "I need space. I will send money." He sent it for 6 months. Then the check stopped. That house, the one he said was for our family, became my responsibility alone. I worked 2 jobs. I cleaned offices at night and handled phone calls at a doctor's clinic during the day. I was always tired, always counting dollars, always pretending I wasn't scared. But I never missed a school play. I never missed a birthday. I never forgot to pack Lauren's lunch. This house held us when no one else did. Every paycheck I put a little aside. Every tax refund went into repairs. Every extra dollar went toward the mortgage. I paid off Daniel's half, too. He never once thanked me. Years passed. Lauren grew. The house stayed. She left for college. She came back. She left again. When she married Tyler 3 years ago, they asked if they could stay here while they saved for a place of their own. "Just a year or 2. We'll be out of your hair before you know it." I said yes, because that's what mothers do. At first it was fine. They paid a little rent. They helped with groceries. We ate dinner together. Then the tone shifted. Tyler started talking about renovations, about opening walls, about property value. Lauren started saying things like, "This house is old," and "it would be better if it felt more like ours." I should have paid attention. I should have noticed the way they spoke about it like I was already gone. But when you love someone, you give them the benefit of the doubt even when your gut is screaming. I walked into the small office at the back of the house, a narrow room with 1 desk, 1 filing cabinet, and a dusty window that looked out onto the garden. I opened the bottom drawer. Inside was a thick folder I hadn't touched in years. Daniel's parents. His mother, Margaret, had never trusted Daniel, really. She was kind to me, but careful. When Daniel left, she came to see me once. She sat at this very desk and said, "Evelyn, I'm going to do something for you and Lauren. Daniel will never know." I had not understood what she meant until a year later when a letter arrived. She had placed the house into a family trust, not in Daniel's name, not in Lauren's, in mine. I was the beneficiary. I was the protector. And when I passed, Lauren would receive it. But until then, the house was legally not Daniel's, not Tyler's, not even Lauren's. It was mine. They didn't know. I had never told Lauren because I didn't want money to change the way she saw me. But money had changed the way she saw the house. I held the folder in my hands and felt my heart beat slow. They thought I was weak. They thought I was old. They thought I was in the way. But legally, they had nothing. And for the first time since that message arrived, I allowed myself a small, quiet smile. The first lie did not arrive loudly.
It came wrapped in concern. Lauren knocked on my bedroom door one evening just as I was folding laundry. She leaned against the frame, her arms crossed in that casual way that made it seem like she was not planning anything at all. "Mom," she said, Have you ever thought about what would happen if something happened to you? I looked up from a pile of socks. What do you mean? Like, if you got sick or had a fall or needed help with bills, stuff that happens when people get older. I was 63. I still drove. I still worked part-time at the library. I still walked 2 miles every morning. I managed just fine, I said. She nodded quickly. Of course you do. I just mean it might be smart to have things in place so we can help if we need to. Help. That word. It always sounds kind until you look closer. Tyler appeared behind her, holding 2 mugs of tea. He handed one to her, not to me. We were talking about setting up automatic payments just to make things easier, less stress for you. Less stress for who? I asked. They laughed lightly as if I had made a joke. For you, Mom, Lauren said. We just want to make sure nothing ever goes wrong. Something already had. I just couldn't see it yet. A few days later, Lauren came into the kitchen with her phone in her hand. Hey, Mom, she said, do you remember your online banking login? I'm trying to help you set up bill reminders. I hesitated. I do it myself, I said. She smiled. I know, but you forget sometimes. Remember when the electric bill was late last month? It had been late because I was in the hospital for 2 days with a stomach infection, but she said it like it was a pattern. I told her the password. That was my mistake. From that day on, she handled everything, or so she said. A week later, Tyler mentioned that he had paid the water bill. Another week, Lauren said she moved money around to avoid overdraft fees. I didn't think much of it because I trusted my daughter, because I had raised her, because she was my baby. The first time I noticed something was wrong was when I went to the grocery store and my card was declined. I tried again. Declined. Embarrassed, I paid with cash. That night, I logged into my account. $2,000 was gone, transferred. The recipient name was unfamiliar. I called Lauren into the room. Do you know what this is? I asked. She barely glanced at the screen. Oh, yeah, she said. That's the account Tyler uses for household stuff, groceries, utilities, repairs. It all goes there now so we can keep track of it. You didn't tell me. You didn't ask. That was the first crack. A month later, it happened again. $5,000 this time. I confronted them at the dinner table. Tyler leaned back in his chair. You said we could help manage things. We're just organizing it better. This is my money, I said quietly. Lauren's eyes hardened just a little. Mom, you live here. We all do. It's all the same, isn't it? No, it was not. But something in their tone told me arguing wouldn't help, so I stayed quiet. That was the second mistake. Over the next 3 months, the transfers continued, always small enough to seem reasonable, always explained as something necessary, roof repairs, insurance, taxes. Except the roof was fine, the insurance was paid, and the taxes had already been settled. I knew, because I checked. And one night, when Lauren thought I was asleep, I heard her whispering to Tyler in the living room. We just need a few more months, she said. Then we can do it. Do what? He asked. Move. Buy something bigger. This place will be ours soon anyway. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My house, my life, being spoken about like a prize. That's when I understood. The kindness was a costume, the concern was a script, and the first lie was already so deep inside my home that it was pretending to be family. The eviction didn't come with a warning. It came in an envelope, a thick one, left on the counter like it was nothing. I noticed it when I came downstairs for coffee. My name was typed neatly across the front. I opened it slowly. Notice to vacate, 30 days. I read it 3 times before the words started to make sense. Eviction. From my own house. I walked into the living room where Lauren and Tyler were sitting on the couch watching television like nothing in the world had changed. "What is this?" I asked, holding up the paper. Lauren looked at it, then at me. "Oh, that. That. Yes, that." She sighed like I was being difficult. "Mom, you can't live here anymore." I felt my stomach drop. "What are you talking about?" Tyler turned the volume down. "You signed over the house. You just don't remember." "I never signed anything." Lauren stood up. "Yes, you did. When you were in the hospital last year, you said you wanted us to have it. You wanted us to be taken care of." "That is a lie." Her face changed. "You were confused. You said a lot of things." I looked from her to Tyler. "You took my money. Now you're taking my home." Tyler crossed his arms. "This is our home now, and you need to leave." I felt something inside me go cold. "You are evicting me." Lauren nodded. "We found a place for you, a small apartment. It's cheaper. You'll be fine." Fine, like I was a piece of furniture they were moving out of the way. I went upstairs and closed my bedroom door. I sat on my bed. For a long time I couldn't breathe. Everything I had built was being erased. My daughter was erasing me. That night I didn't sleep. I made calls instead. The bank, the city clerk, a legal aid office, and what I learned made my blood run cold. The deed to my house had been transferred 6 months ago, not to Lauren, to Tyler, using a power of attorney document that I never seen, never signed, never approved. They had stolen my home. The next morning I didn't confront them. I packed a small bag. I left quietly. I went to my friend Elaine's house. Elaine had known me for 30 years. She was a retired nurse and a woman who didn't miss details. When I told her everything, she went silent. "They forged it," she said. "I've seen this before." We went to a lawyer that afternoon, a real one, a man who specialized in elder abuse and property fraud. He looked at the documents Lauren and Tyler had filed, the power of attorney, the deed transfer, the signatures. "These are fake, every one of them." My hands shook. "They stole my life." He nodded. "And they're going to regret it." 3 days later, Lauren texted me. "When are you picking up the rest of your stuff?" I replied, "Soon." What she did not know was that the sheriff was already involved. The title company was already investigating, and the locks on my house were about to become useless to her. On the morning of the eviction date, I arrived at my own front door with 2 deputies and my lawyer. Lauren opened the door. Her face went pale when she saw them. "What is this?" she demanded. The deputy spoke calmly. "This property transfer has been declared fraudulent. The deed has been reversed. You and Mr. Tyler are required to vacate immediately." Lauren screamed. Tyler swore. But it was over. They were the ones being evicted now from the home they thought they had stolen. I walked past them into my living room, my house, my walls, my memories. Lauren looked at me like a stranger. "You did this," she said. "No," I replied, "you did." And for the first time since she was born, I closed the door on my own child.
The house was quiet after they left. Not peaceful, empty. The kind of empty that rings in your ears. Their footsteps were gone. Their voices were gone. But the damage they left behind felt louder than anything they had ever said. I walked through the room slowly. My living room looked the same, but it did not feel the same. Drawers were open. Cabinet doors hung crooked. Picture frames were missing. Lauren had taken photos off the walls, family photos, my wedding photo, the one of her as a little girl on her first day of school. I stopped in the hallway and pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. What kind of daughter steals memories on our way out? I went into what used to be my office. My filing cabinet was open, every drawer. My stomach tightened. I knelt down and pulled the bottom drawer, empty. The middle drawer, empty. The top, empty. All my paperwork was gone. Bank statements, insurance policies, tax returns, property records, everything. Elaine was right. They had not just tried to take my house, they were trying to erase my trail. I sat on the floor and felt something shift inside me. Not panic, focus. When someone steals like that, it means they're hiding something bigger. I called my lawyer. I took my files, I said, all of them. There was a pause. That means they already knew the documents were fake. They were trying to destroy evidence. I closed my eyes. So what do we do now? We find out what else they did. That afternoon, he brought in a forensic accountant, a woman named Rachel who didn't smile much and didn't miss anything. She sat at my dining table with my laptop, my remaining bank access, and a legal pad. "Let us start with your accounts," she said. What she found made my chest feel tight. Over the past 3 years, Lauren had been moving small amounts of money out of my accounts, not enough to trigger alerts. $500 here, $2,000 there, payments labeled utilities, home maintenance, medical. But the money went to accounts in Tyler's name and sometimes to Lauren's. They had been bleeding me slowly, quietly, on purpose. Total so far, Rachel added numbers on her calculator, just over $98,000. I stared at the screen. They had stolen nearly $100,000 before they ever touched my house, and they had planned to keep going. My lawyer leaned forward. That power of attorney was just the final move. Once they had the house, they would have cut you off completely. I felt sick. They were going to leave me with nothing. Rachel nodded. And it gets worse. She pulled up another file. Lauren and Tyler had taken out loans, multiple ones, using my house as collateral. They had listed themselves as owners based on the forged deed. If the fraud hadn't been caught, those loans would have come due in my name. I would have been buried in debt, lost my home, and probably been forced into assisted living with nothing. My own daughter had been building a financial trap around me, piece by piece. I stood up slowly. How long has this been going on? Rachel looked at the dates. Since your husband died. That's when something inside me finally broke. Not into pieces, into clarity. Lauren hadn't changed. She had revealed who she had always been. I thought about the dinners, the smiles, the hugs, the way she always said, "Mom, don't worry about money." Now I understood why. She had already spent it. I went into my bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. My house no longer felt safe, not because of what they had done, but because of what I had believed.
I had believed I was loved. What I really was profitable. That night I wrote everything down, every transaction, every date, every lie. I took photos of the empty filing cabinets, the missing frames, the stripped shelves. This was no longer a family matter. It was a crime, and I was done protecting people who never protected me.
When Lauren tried to call that night, I did not answer. For the first time in my life, I did not want to hear her voice. Because once you see the truth about someone, you cannot unsee it. And what I had just discovered was that my own daughter had been planning my financial death for years. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the small sounds of the house, the ticking clock, the hum of the refrigerator. Every noise felt louder now, like the walls themselves were paying attention. By morning, my fear was gone. In its place was something colder, resolve. I called Lauren at 9 o'clock sharp. She did not answer. I left a voicemail. "You took my files. We need to talk. Come back today." She showed up 2 hours later, alone. No Tyler this time. She stood on my porch wearing sunglasses, even though it was cloudy. When I opened the door, she did not look at me. "Where are my documents?" I asked. She shrugged. "I threw out old stuff you did not need anymore." My hands curled into fists. "You stole them because you forged them." Her jaw tightened. "You have no proof." I stepped aside and let her walk in. She moved through the house like she still owned it, like she had not just tried to destroy my life. We sat at the dining table, the same table where I had helped her with homework, where we had eaten birthday cake, where I had listened to her cry over broken hearts. "You took almost $100,000 from me," I said quietly. Her head snapped up. "That is not true." I slid the printed bank records across the table. Rachel found everything, every transfer, every fake utility payment, every loan. Her face drained of color. "You hired someone." "Yes." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You are really doing this. You are choosing money over your own daughter." "I am choosing the truth." "You always do this," she snapped. "You play the victim." "I was a victim." She stood up. "You have no idea how hard my life has been. You had a house, a husband, security. I had nothing. You had me. That was not enough." There it was, the sentence that finally told me everything. "You were never my mother. You were just my safety net." I felt something inside my chest go quiet. "So you planned to drain me until I had nothing?" She crossed her arms. "You are not even using that money. You sit in this house alone. You do not travel. You do not enjoy life. You are just hoarding." "I was saving it so I would never have to depend on you." Her eyes flashed. "Well, you should have, because Tyler and I deserve it more." "Deserve what?" "Your life, your house, your money. It should all be ours eventually anyway." Eventually, that word, the one that revealed everything. "So you decided not to wait." She leaned forward. "You are old. You are not going to be here forever. We needed to start our life now. By destroying mine, you would have been fine." I stared at her. "I would have been homeless. You could have gone to a nursing home." "With what money?" She did not answer. "Get out," I said. "No, I'm calling the police." She laughed. "They'll believe me. You're old, confused. Tyler already has a lawyer." "I have one too." Her smile faded. "You would really send your own daughter to prison?" "You already did that yourself."
She stepped toward me. "You are making a mistake. Once I leave, I'm done with you." I looked at her. "I was done the day you decided to erase me." She hesitated for just a moment. Then she turned and walked out. And when the door closed, I finally understood something I had been afraid to admit. I had not lost my daughter that day. I had lost her years ago. I just hadn't known it yet. The police came 3 days later. 2 officers stood on my porch just after breakfast. One of them held a folder. The other one kept his eyes on me gently, like he was worried I might fall apart. "Mrs. Holloway," he said, "we need to ask you some questions about your financial accounts." I nodded and stepped aside. They sat at my kitchen table, the same place where my daughter had just told me I meant nothing. I handed them everything: bank statements, loan documents, the fake utility bills, the forged signatures, the transfer records. They did not interrupt. They just kept writing. When I finished, the older officer leaned back. "Mrs. Holloway, what your daughter did is not a misunderstanding. It's felony financial exploitation of an elder. It's fraud. It's identity theft. It's theft over $50,000. I closed my eyes. Even hearing the words out loud didn't make it easier. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I thought about Lauren as a little girl, her missing front teeth, her laugh, her hand in mine when she crossed the street. Then I thought about her standing in my living room, calling me a safety net. "Yes," I said, "I want the truth on record." They left with copies of everything. I sat in the quiet house afterward shaking, not from fear, from grief. That afternoon, my lawyer called. "The property sale Tyler attempted has been blocked. The buyers are furious. They are pressing charges too. The bank has frozen Lauren's accounts. They will try to recover what they can. And Tyler, he will be questioned too." So they weren't just dealing with me anymore.
They were dealing with the law. 2 days later, Lauren was arrested, not in handcuffs, in humiliation, right outside the coffee shop where she worked. A friend texted me. They took her away crying. I did not feel relief. I felt hollow. Tyler was charged a week later. Conspiracy, wire fraud, forgery. They had planned it together. Every email, every transfer, every lie. When I saw the evidence, I finally understood something. They had never meant to stop. They were going to keep draining me until there was nothing left, until I was completely dependent on them, or gone. The trial took months. They tried to paint me as confused, as bitter, as lonely, but the numbers did not lie. The signatures did not match. The paper trail was clear. When the judge read the verdict, I held my breath. Guilty. 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 Lauren looked at me like I had killed her, but she had killed something first. Trust, love, family. They were sentenced, not just to prison, to restitution. They would spend years paying back what they stole, not just money, but time. After it was over, I went home. I made tea. I sat in my chair, and for the first time in months, the house was quiet in a different way, not empty, peaceful. I still miss my daughter, but I no longer miss who she pretended to be, because now I know the truth, and the truth, even when it hurts, sets you free. I did not hear from my son for 3 days after the police took his statement. Those 3 days felt longer than the last 30 years of my life. The house was too quiet. Every sound felt louder than it should. The ticking clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the floorboards when I walked from room to room. I kept expecting my phone to ring. Part of me wanted it to. Part of me dreaded it. On the fourth morning, it finally did. I was standing at the kitchen sink, washing a single cup that had already been clean. My hands froze when I saw his name. Daniel. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello? His voice was different, not angry, not confident, thin and shaken. Mom? I did not respond right away. Mom, he said again, I need to talk to you. I waited. They froze my accounts, he said. The bank. I cannot access anything. I set the cup down carefully. They also froze the house sale, he continued. The realtors are threatening to sue me. The real estate agent will not return my calls. The lawyer says I could be charged. There it was, the collapse. I did not feel victory. I did not feel relief. I felt a hollow ache where love used to live. Daniel, I said quietly, you took everything from me. I was going to pay you back, he said quickly. I just needed time. Time you did not give me, I replied. He breathed hard into the phone. Jessica left, Mom. That surprised me. What do you mean? She packed her things last night. She said she didn't sign up for legal trouble. She said this was your fault. Of course she did. She always knew when to run. Daniel's voice cracked. I don't have any money. I don't have a house. I don't have a wife. My job suspended me this morning. They said they are reviewing everything. I closed my eyes. The world he built on stolen ground was sinking. All of it. Mom, he whispered, please help me. Help you how? Tell the bank it was a misunderstanding. Call the lawyer and stop this. Just say you changed your mind. I felt something settle inside me. Not anger, not bitterness, clarity. Daniel, I said quietly, you already made your choice. I was desperate, he said. I was scared. I thought you had so much. I thought you'd be fine. You thought I was invisible. Silence. I raised you alone, I continued. I skipped meals so you could eat. I wore the same coat for 10 winters so you could have new shoes. I stayed in a marriage longer than I should have because I wanted you to have stability. And you looked at me and saw a bank. I heard him crying now. I didn't know you would do this. You did not know I would protect myself. Mom, please. I cannot. The call ended. That afternoon, my lawyer called. The buyers of the rental property filed suit. The bank completed their fraud report. The notary confirmed the document was forged. The police were preparing charges. Everything was moving. That evening, I sat alone in my living room with all the lights turned off. Outside, the sky was deep blue and heavy with rain. I thought about Daniel when he was 5 years old, building towers out of blocks on this same floor. I remembered him at 12, crying when his father did not come home one night. I remembered him at 21, hugging me when he graduated. I wondered when that little boy had disappeared. The next morning, there was a knock at my door. Not Daniel, a police officer. He was young, polite, and looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Morrison, he said, we need to speak with you about your son. I invited him inside. He told me Daniel had been arrested that morning for fraud and theft. He said the buyers had given proof of misrepresentation. The bank had traced the stolen money to accounts Daniel controlled. It was all real now. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I looked at the family photos on my wall. Yes, I said. After he left, I sat down slowly. This was the moment people always imagine being loud and dramatic, but it was quiet, just me, a cup of cold coffee, and a life that had changed forever. 2 days later, Daniel was released on bail. He did not come to my house. Instead, his lawyer sent me a letter asking me to reconsider. It spoke about family, forgiveness, and emotional distress. I folded it and put it away. That night, Daniel sent me a single message: "You ruined my life." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying, "You ruined your own." After that, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, no visits. The silence was heavy, but it was honest. A week later, I learned the full truth. Jessica had known about the money before it was taken. She helped set up the accounts. She pushed Daniel to sell the house. When the police questioned her, she denied everything. But they had proof, messages, records. She was being investigated too. Their perfect life fell apart. Friends disappeared. Social media went silent. Whispers replaced smiles. The collapse was complete. I did not celebrate. I mourned. I mourned the son I thought I had. I mourned the family I believed in. I mourned the years I gave without ever knowing if I was valued. One afternoon, I walked through my garden and noticed new shoots pushing through the soil. Life was still growing, even after everything looked dead. I sat on my porch and let the sun warm my face. For the first time in months, I felt safe. Not because everything was fixed, but because the truth was no longer hidden. And when the truth comes out, even when it destroys something, it also clears space for something new to grow. 6 months passed. The roses bloomed again. The seasons changed, and so did I. I used to wake up thinking about Daniel, if he was eating, if he was sleeping, if he was still angry. Now I woke up thinking about myself, my health, my home, my peace. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the county jail. Daniel wrote to me. He said prison was cold and loud. He said he finally understood what he had done. He said he knew he was wrong. He said he did not expect forgiveness. I folded the letter quietly. There was no anger in me, no victory, just a soft sadness. That night, I made soup and ate slowly. The world was still. A week later, my lawyer called. The restitution payments had begun, small amounts taken automatically from what little income Daniel had left. It would take years, but I no longer cared about the money. The house was mine. My life was mine. That was enough. I began volunteering at a senior center. People came in afraid of losing their homes, afraid of being forgotten. I told them my story, not with anger, with honesty. You do not have to disappear because you're getting older. You do not have to be silent to be loved. On my 72nd birthday, I sat on my porch with a small cake. No party, no crowd, just peace. A message came from Daniel through the jail system. "Happy birthday, Mom."
I replied with one word: thank you. Some stories don't end with hugs. Some wounds never fully disappear, but they can close, and that's what I chose. Not revenge, not bitterness, peace. If this story spoke to you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe so you don't miss the next story, and share this with someone who needs to hear that their life still belongs to them.